listening to the Hurdy Gurdy Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Vacula, here to help you travel the world at next to no cost through credit card points, miles, benefits, and rewards. Make money, save money, and take advantage of great deals. Thanks for joining me for episode number 58, Credit Cards and Travel with Beth King. A personal friend of mine, Beth, shares how she uses credit cards and deals to help her family regularly travel. We also talk about how to get started with credit card rewards, leverage profitable deals, earn cash through checking account bonuses, and much more. It's been almost a year since I uploaded an episode. I'm happy to return, and I hope to upload at least one episode a month, or more than that, with listener support on my Patreon page, found at hurdygurdytravel.com. Subscriptions start at just $10 a month. I plan to upload more credit card reviews, discussions with guests, and create custom episodes from supporters of the show. Now with some housekeeping items complete, enjoy today's episode. All right, everyone. I am here with Elizabeth King. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right. Yeah, it was, 2 or 3 years ago, I was at a Staples and saw you there. I saw you holding some Visa gift cards. I was there to get some of my own. And I said, oh, well, we should talk. I don't think this person over here is just randomly buying the Visa gift cards during the fee-free promotion with the Chase Ink cash card, right?
Yes, and then you saw my Chase Ink cash card come out, and you knew for sure, right? It was a sign.
So you're in this points and miles game, and so we're coming on the show to talk about today. How did you get involved? How did you find out about all these interesting things that we do to gain miles and points to save money on travel and pay next to no cost?
The story actually starts with a mailer I got. It was for I don't even know what card it was. I think it was an American Express card, and it offered rewards that you could turn in for $500 gift card or $500. And I thought, how is that possible? But I thought, well, if they're going to offer me $500, I'll take it. So I opened the card, and I remember I redeemed it for a $500 restoration hardware gift card. And I was so excited. I had no idea, right, that you could get better than one point or 1 penny per point. And then I, as far as I remember, I immediately closed the account. I wasn't going to pay an annual fee. How I didn't get on the bad side of whatever bank that was, I'm not sure. So that was my sort of moment where I sort of recognized that there were credit card offers out there, sign-up bonuses in particular, that were pretty astounding. But then it really, you have to jump to the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. When they opened that card with 100,000 point sign-up bonus, there was a lot of talk, and that talk, it went beyond the points and miles community. It ended up in newspapers, and I happened upon it, and I saw that, read a few articles about it, and then I started to realize that you didn't have to just wait for a mailer to come to your door telling you about a sign-up bonus you could get. You could actually hunt them down. You could look for them. And so I started slowly, and then very quickly realized the benefits of this game. So for people who are new, can you describe this process of you're getting this new credit card? How does the process work to get these really big welcome offers? Right. So, banks are very keen on signing up new customers. And so they'll offer pretty significant sign-up bonuses once you meet a minimum spend. What the sign-up bonus is varies not just from card to card, but from bank to bank, from time to time. And what the minimum spend requirement is also varies tremendously. And so if you start to pay attention to the offers that are out there, you can pretty quickly recognize what a good offer is, and you can pretty quickly figure out whether or not you can meet the sign-up minimum spend requirement. And because these banks are competing with each other for your business, you have every reason to sign up for cards over and over again as quickly as you can meet the minimum spend requirement. As long as you are good at, as long as you pay back, right? Right. What you owe at the end of the month, you're not carrying a balance. It's a wonderful way to earn points, to earn miles, to earn hotel stays, free hotel stays. And it's a fun little hobby to get into. Right. So we're putting spend we're already doing anyway on these new cards. Maybe we're using different cards for different purchases. We're taking advantage of bonus categories or special offers. And we're just signing up for lots of cards. I started pretty small. I got
one premium card and then thought, oh, wow, this is great. Could I get another big bonus? And just moved up from there. Some people, I think, get intimidated. Oh, my God, Justin, you have like 30 credit cards. How did you do this? Did you just start signing up for 30 credit cards, or what was the process there?
Most of us just start out with one and then two, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves, a year later at 30. So it's certainly something that you want to enter into cautiously, because you need to meet the minimum spend. You need to pay off your balances every month. But if you can do that, right, then there's no harm in having 20, 30 credit cards, as long as you can balance it all and keep organized and pay off your balances.
Right. I think it's just like anything. When you learn a new skill, a new hobby, you're just going to start small. And once you get more comfortable, you move on up. Some people that I consult with, I say, okay, just sign up for this one card, take a few weeks, hit the minimum spend goal. Let me know how it goes for you. And when you're ready to sign up for the next card, let me know, and we could talk about some strategy, because we can't just hammer the banks and apply for 10 cards in the same day in most scenarios. So it's a strategic thing we have to do to abide by the rules and not face a lot of declines.
Right. When you start in this hobby, you can pretty much open up any card that that you're able to meet minimum spend on, as long as the bank will issue it to you. But you're right. As you get a little bit further in, you start to realize that you need to develop a strategy, because there are rules for every bank. And those rules start coming into play. They start affecting you, maybe not right at the outset. Chase doesn't care if you get one card or two cards, but once you reach 5 cards in 2 years, 24 months, then they start to care, right?
Yeah.
And so, initially you can come into this game, and start slowly and kind of figure out what's your best option for, based on what card you want to get and what the sign-up bonus is. But after a while, you realize that there's even more strategy beyond that.
Right. It could be intimidating and lots of options to start with. But I think demystifying that, learning the rules, getting more comfortable as you go along, it gets pretty easy. And I always tell people, you don't have to be all in like I am. And more people out there are doing more than I am. So,
absolutely.
Even if it's like you're just starting out, maybe you get one card every 6 months and see how you feel about that. Maybe you'll start getting a new card every 3 months or 4 months. And we get to redeem these points for some really awesome experiences. As you've had a lot of international travel, even recently, as we're recording here on October of 2021.
Right. So what this hobby has opened up, right, for me and my family is that the opportunity to travel so many places that I wouldn't have dreamed of 5 years ago. So initially, when I got the Chase Sapphire Reserve card with a 100,000 point bonus, I immediately saw that you could redeem those points for even more on the travel website that Chase operates, and I decided, hey, we're of Dutch origin, and there are some Dutch islands in the Caribbean that are not too far away, and it's not terribly expensive compared to others. So I was able to use those points from that Chase card to fly the family to Curacao. And we were all kind of awed by it. And then I used my free Marriott nights to stay at one of the hotels in Willemstad. And then we also stayed at an Airbnb for a while in a different part of the island, which we paid for, out of pocket. At that point, I didn't realize, right, how extensive this game could get, right? You could leverage, you could leverage your points for cash in some cases if you wanted just not to pay anything out of pocket. But that, immediately, that experience immediately made me see the value of this credit card sign-up bonus and, spend game. And so, we've been all over. We've gone to Europe several times, Eastern Europe. I've took the kids. Actually, the kids and my husband met me there when I was there for work. We got to spend time in Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, such places that I don't think I ever would have thought I could have brought my kids along. When I was out there, Spain and Portugal, we took a wonderful trip there. And South America, we've gone there as well. We've tried to go to places that aren't just tourist places, right? We try to see a little bit of the culture and experience a little bit of the history of some of the places we visit. And it's been an enormously rewarding experience for not just me, but the whole family.
Nice. And some benefits that come along with that, whether it's the free lounge access, whether it's, okay, you're staying at a Hilton property and you have access to some free breakfast there. I think all this adds up and makes it just a more pleasurable experience rather than slumming it up at a Red Roof Inn and just trying to backpack across the world. It's like, I'd rather not stay at that hostel with like 5 other people in the same room.
Right. Yeah, no, you do get to stay in kind of neat places sometimes you wouldn't otherwise be able to afford. And a good example of this is we had some free Hilton nights, and so we stayed at the Conrad in Tokyo. And I wouldn't have even begun to think about paying cash price at that place. And then it came with free breakfast because of status. And then it came with free lounge access, so we could often eat our dinner there as well. And so, we were able to do so much. And then we could use, cash instead to get into museums and other places. And so it was wonderful, to have those opportunities. Now I have to say, if you're like me and you travel with family, and I've usually traveling with 2, 3, even 4 kids and a spouse. We're not typically flying business or first class. Some in this points and miles game do. They leverage their points, to get great deals to fly internationally on first class or business class. And that sounds great, but when you fly with when there's 6 of you, right?
Yeah, it's tougher.
You want to stretch your points and miles. So we do get some luxuries, but there's also recognition that you're not going to jump into this game and suddenly be able to fly first class around the world and stay in the top hotels. You have to think hard about what value you place on a business class seat versus 4 economy seats. And for me, being able to travel with family makes it makes the pain of economy seats just fine. And in fact, maybe it's better that we don't even know what it's like to fly business class or first class because we'll never want to go back.
The corrupting influence, right?
Right.
Well, I've had some free upgrades with Delta. I have the Delta Gold status, soon Platinum status, and it's nice to go to the Premium Economy or Comfort Plus and even the first class experience. But yeah, I have a similar take on it that I want to take the most amount of travel rather than spending tons of points. Like I recently went to the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, and there was a Hyatt property out there for only 5,000 points a night. And that was points I just transferred from my Chase card. And the phone rep even said to me, wow, that would have been like $300 for that room. So there's some really good value that can be had. And it was really nice to watch the ascension of the balloons at like 6 a.m. right outside my hotel window. It was a great view, and I'm usually not bullish on the views of the room. So the experiences that can be had through this hobby are really cool. It allows us to really transcend in a way, as I think a lot of people have this mistaken conception that, it's only the rich people that get to do this kind of stuff. But it's like, no, the average person with a little bit of discipline and organization skills can really make it happen with this hobby.
Absolutely. Yeah, some of the lounges that I've been in airports have been amazing, right? Instead of having to go to the airport and, sit in hard seats with, surrounded by, chaos, right? Wondering if I really want to spend, $10 on a Whopper.
Yeah.
I get to go into a lounge thanks to a credit card that gives me access. And it's, much more peaceful and quiet, and the food is free. There's oftentimes drinks for free as well. And it makes travel a more relaxing experience. So, there are some great perks, some luxuries, but as, Justin, as you say, there's also a way in which we want to stretch our points and miles. And so everyone makes their own judgment calls about what they value most. And then you can put your points and miles towards those things.
Right. A previous guest on my podcast, Bo Knows, he recently had a child, and he's not traveling as much, but he will be going to Disney in a bit. And he's choosing, okay, well, maybe we'll spend additional points or additional cash for the seat upgrades because we're not going to be traveling as much. And some people aren't really interested in travel at all, surprisingly, or maybe only once a year. So some people, as you said before, are just cashing out points. And you've certainly done that too with Chase and American Express, right?
Absolutely. Oftentimes cashing out is not your best value, but if you're not traveling and your points or miles are just sitting there, over time they'll lose value, right? You won't be able to get as much for them. So then you might be better off looking at options to cash out. And Chase recently made it very maybe lucrative is too strong, but it made cashing out a real viable option, a good option even, when they introduced pay yourself back, where you could take Chase points and pay yourself back for certain kinds of purchases. Initially groceries, now it's dining and a few other categories. But sometimes we'll go out to eat and I'll take the Chase Sapphire Reserve card along and I'll think, we're gonna eat this, we're gonna get this meal for free. I'm gonna pay myself back for this food. Because it's nice, right, to have that option. Then you don't feel so bad about, a bill right at the restaurant that's more than you normally would pay. And you could also, just get, you can use American Express points. Sometimes they offer even an increased a number of or a percent by which you can pay yourself back. In essence, you can use Amex points against your credit card bill and lower the cost. And so sometimes those are good options.
Yeah, they've had the promotion for 1 cent a point or some bonus on redemptions with American Express, or some people use Charles Schwab, which is now 1.1 cent per point, or Morgan Stanley, which is 1 cent per point. So it may not be the most optimal, especially people focus a lot on those international flights, but not everyone is flying internationally. And these are just other options. I'm not recommending, use your points at like 0.5 of a cent per point for gift cards by any means, but hopefully getting at least good redemptions when cashing out.
Absolutely. Yeah, that should never be overlooked as an option. And certainly with the pandemic, with less travel going on, for some people, that's just the perfect option to look for credit cards you can sign up for that allow you to pay yourself back at pretty good rates. And as Justin, as you mentioned, the Charles Schwab card, Morgan Stanley card through American Express are great cards. It's a high annual fee, but the sign-up bonus is great. And then once you have the card, you can transfer your points out for cash. And so it's a great way, if you're not traveling, to find some value in this hobby.
Yeah, you mentioned annual fees. I think some people make mistakes in that they try to absolutely avoid annual fees, that they don't understand that the annual fees are more like an upfront investment. Okay, maybe I spend $99 for an annual fee on the card, but I'm getting this really big welcome offer. I'm getting a free night certificate every year. So can you talk a little bit about the annual fees and how you manage them?
Right. So initially I was the same way. I wasn't going to pay an annual fee ever, right? That was, why would you pay a fee, right, to pay, to use a credit card? But yeah, you quickly would recognize if you sit down and do just basic math, right, that it makes a lot of sense to pay annual fees in many cases. Sometimes it makes sense to pay the annual fee a second, a third time. So yeah, you have to weigh, right, the sign-up bonus and what value you place on the sign-up bonus, the other perks that come with the card and what value you place on those perks. And you have to decide if it's worth signing up for the card. And I will say that most banks want you to see that it does make sense the first year for sure, right? There's almost no card out there, right, where the sign-up bonus doesn't give value that far exceeds the annual fee. Now, going into the second year, when you don't get that sign-up bonus, you could try for a retention offer, and that might offset some or all of the annual fee. Or you might think it's worth holding onto the card just because of the various perks that come with the card. And so, for example, most of the hotel cards, the Hiltons, the Marriotts, the IHG cards, they come with a free night. And so if you're paying a $95 annual fee, but that you'll regularly use that free night that you get for that $95 for a hotel that's going to cost more than $95 a night, it's probably worth holding on to it. And here I'll jump in, Justin, and talk a little bit about what it means in this industry to have a family, beyond what I've already said about, maybe looking for economy class tickets more than first class. Oftentimes families end up in situations like mine where, kids are in, say, travel sports. And you find that there's a tournament and you really need to stay overnight because they have games, over 2 days. And the hotels know when these tournaments are being held, and of course their prices go up, raised accordingly. And so you'll often find that your very basic Fairfield Inn, right, for example, is charging $200 to $300 a night. Wow. In those places, surrounding this tournament. And I have friends, they end up just paying $200 to $300 a night. Well, I've got hotel points. I've got hotel free nights. And, sometimes it's not the most luxurious. It never is, actually. It's not glamorous, right, to stay at a Fairfield Inn. But if I'm using a free Marriott night, a reward night, that I got for a credit card that cost me $95 a year to stay at a hotel that's going to be up to $300 for that night, it's a big win for me. And I would probably have to pay it, if I didn't with cash, if I didn't have the free night. Now I'm strategic about this. I'm not just going to throw away my free nights, right, for hotels that where I think I could maybe get more value from them. I might look at using points instead if that's a good option. But if I have a reward night and it's about to expire perhaps, and it's a Fairfield Inn that maybe only costs, $20,000 points.
That would be the luxurious one.
Night, right? Yeah, dollars. Can you imagine? If it's 20,000 points, even if my free reward night, really allows me to get a better hotel that that costs more points. If it's going to expire and I'm not sure I'm going to use it, then I'm gonna find value, right, in using that free night. So there's lots of kinds of travel that you might not consider travel, right? And the way we're talking about it, where you go and have this big trip to the Caribbean or something, but these are small weekend trips, visiting family, going to soccer or other kinds of tournaments. If you're taking a long trip and you want to stop along the way, having points in hotels can be a very, very great way to save a fair bit of money.
Yeah, so lots and lots of options. And you help family members manage accounts as you're deep into this hobby, and they're not quite, but they're happy to have you guide them along.
Yeah, I like how you use the word help them. I don't so much help them as I do it for them. I have two kids in college now, and so as soon as they were 18 years old, I immediately sat down with them and talked to them a little bit about the game. But I really run it for them. I make them aware of it. They know that I'm doing it to help their credit score, and I'm also doing it so I can get them points and miles, and I always give them, right, the points and miles that I accrue with credit cards in their name. And so they're stoked, right, as they would say. Yeah, the way to think about it, right, is with kids is even before they turn 18 and can get their own credit card, is to get them as an authorized user on one of your cards, preferably one of your older cards, so that their average age of their accounts immediately is sort of solid. Now, every bank has different protocols about how they handle authorized users, and so we won't get into the weeds here. You can find this, you can Google this, but
we're not adding 20 people to cards and like selling them off and then getting shut down. And oh my God, I couldn't believe it. How did the bank shut me down?
Yes, no, you want to be cautious for sure, and you want to know which banks actually report to the various credit agencies, so that your kids sort of get credit for your good credit score. And so anyway, then they've established sort of a credit score, and so it won't be high initially because they're presumably not paying utility bills and don't have established record of paying back cards. But once they get maybe as the first card, a Wells Fargo student card or Discover student card, when they're 18, those are relatively easy for students to get. Then you can start helping them establish a regular pattern of paying back at the end of the month, right, paying their balances off. And I think it's important in this case to actually let the credit card statement hit and then pay the balance back, hopefully a small balance, so that their utilization rates aren't high. But if you let there be a balance at the end of the month and then you pay it off right away, that shows the credit card or the credit agencies that your kids can handle, right? Paying back their credit card bills. And then I found that once they reach 21, then other opportunities open up. They can start taking your income and crediting it to their own as if it's their own, and so that's helpful in helping them get better cards even.
Right. That's the household income that's listed on applications banks usually ask for.
Right, and you can't. Kids can't take credit for household income until they're 21. You can't. They're not presumably able to get access to it until 21. And even then, I'm a little bit cautious when I sign up for a card with my kids who are older than 21. I don't claim that they have my income, but since I do, we help them out with certain costs associated with college, then I can give them credit, right, for that as if it's income. And so that's helpful. And they have jobs as well, so they have some limited income, which also they can take credit for when they sign up for a new card. But I also found that with my 20-year-old, she can't take credit yet for my household for household income, but she turned 20. She had 2 years worth of her credit card history under her own name. And while she had been denied previously for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, she hit the 2-year mark. And suddenly I went through the process and applied again. And they gave it to her. And I'm guessing hitting the 2-year mark made a difference. And, she was applying for it with relatively low income from 2 part-time jobs that she holds. She was able to get that really nice sign-up bonus from the Chase Sapphire Preferred that is still out there, but only if you go into a bank.
Right. And your family members are able to also get some of the travel benefits as well because they are authorized users.
Right. Absolutely. They don't have any of the big cards, right? I haven't yet. And I will hold off, right, until I think they're, old enough and it makes sense for them to have, say, the Platinum, American Express Platinum. But yeah, they've been able to use my Hilton Surpass Priority Pass passes to get in. American Express Green Card allows you to buy, $100 worth of Lounge Buddy passes that I've been able to hand over to them to use. And so they have definitely benefited from this hobby. And of course, they when I travel and if they're able to and I can take them along, or we take family vacations, then they're benefiting in a very real way.
Yeah, generally I don't suggest authorized users if people can get primary cards of their own. But yes, when you're dealing with people who are around that age of 18, 21, that can make sense to do just a little bit. But there could be some disqualifications. If you were to add someone as an authorized user, they may not be eligible for a sign-up bonus of their own.
Right.
So that's one thing I think people getting into the game, people are quick of like, oh, well, I'll just add my wife as an authorized user. And I think, oh, no, well, eventually, wouldn't it be great to double dip these bonuses? I think this is the benefit of having other people who will sign up for accounts that that they can get the benefits as well. And you could share some of the travel spoils.
Absolutely. You need to be very cautious about opening up cards, either as authorized users or their own credit cards. You need to know what the rules are, what what limitations, it'll place on future cards. And so it's a little bit, you have to do some reading. You certainly have to take your time. You need to Google, right, to make sure you're making the right decisions on signing up for credit cards or giving authorized user to children. But it certainly is an option that can, in some cases, be very beneficial to everyone. And of course, one of the other huge benefits, right, of having family members for whom I manage accounts is the referral bonuses. And I cannot underestimate, right? I should not underestimate. I can't. The value of referral bonuses when you have a P2, a P3, a P4.
That's a player 2, player 3, player 4 for the audience. Yeah.
Right. For example, recently there was a great sign-up bonus on the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is, I would call it like a mid-tier card. And if you had the card already, if somebody in your family had that card, they could refer you and they could themselves get 20,000 points, which if you have a Chase Sapphire reserve card, you can use that 20,000 points to pay yourself back to the tune of $300 worth. Or as Justin did and often does, right, you can transfer it to Hyatt and get even more value, or to various airline, and you can put it into airline currencies and use your airline miles from your Chase points to take great trips. But those sign-up bonuses are great. But if you can add to that the referral bonus, right, from someone else in the family, it can really raise your points balances very quickly.
Yeah, for me, I've run out of the bigger hitter cards. And now I'm just having to wait for time to pass before signing up for cards with US Bank and Barclays because they're stricter. The last time I tried with them about 8 months ago, they said, oh, you've signed up for too many accounts in the last 12 months. So now I'm willing to wait a little bit more time. But I've also been adding some cards with American Express. I got so desperate that I got the Plum card, for instance, where it's like, okay, you get $600, but you need to spend $30,000 to get $600. So it effectively was 3.5% cash back, if that quick mental math is correct. Not a huge win, but when say, okay, well, you can only spend $4,000 on the Chase Sapphire Preferred and get 100,000 points. That's really good if you could do that multiple times with the assistance of others.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to scrape the bottom of the barrel so often, right? When you have extra family players that you're working on minimum spend requirements for. So that has been also a big advantage, right, of having a family, is that I'm not opening up cards in my name as often as I might otherwise, because I'm often working on minimum spend for one of their cards. But I'm cautious even, with the kids that I don't put them in a position where, they're 22 and they suddenly have 20 cards. Some are less cautious than me about this, I'm sure, and they'll just go, whole hog and open up lots of cards. But I also want my kids, when they're financially when they're financially sound, to be able to open up some of these cards on their own, to take advantage of this opportunity. So I'm not going to get, every card in the book right away. Because, I think that it's good, for kids to have the opportunity to do some of that when they're older.
Right. And you've signed up for a lot of business cards, too, as you can do that and have even more options. Some people just avoid or forget about the business cards altogether, but I think a lot of the business cards are even stronger than the personal cards.
Right. So, back when eBay started, somebody mentioned to me there was this new site that was, where you could resell your stuff, your old stuff. And I remember going to it and be back with the old dial-up connection on the computer and thought, oh, I've got lots of stuff. I had kids' clothing that was, kind of boutique clothing that was sitting in a closet, and it quickly became a side hobby for me. And I started a reselling business on eBay that grew very quickly. And I eventually found other sources of goods to sell on eBay. And so once I had, this sort of flourishing eBay business, I realized that, that counts as a business. So the revenue I make from that isn't extraordinary, but I can still get business cards based on a very modest revenue. Now, when I sign up for business cards with this modest revenue from my reselling business, I'm signing up as the sole proprietor. And so they're also taking into account my income from my regular job. And so that probably helps as well, right? It's not that I'm, if I sign up for a business card and I'm claiming a revenue of $10,000 a year for my business, but I have no other income. Of course, that's when banks might be a little bit nervous. But signing up for a business card, right, with a pretty low revenue, I know people have signed up with zero revenue on it for a business. They hope it makes money going down the road, and they've still managed to open it up and get approved for these cards. So don't be scared off by business cards. If you have even the most modest of all businesses, or if you are going to start a business and you want to sign up for a business card based on a business you're starting up, don't be afraid to go for it.
Yeah, and I recommend a lot that people start with the LLC and get the documentation, because at some point, sole proprietor often hits a wall, especially if you don't have any documentation, you haven't been doing this, and it's just like, oh, I just became an Uber driver yesterday. Good luck getting the Brex card. We had that offer a few months ago. It was 100,000 points that cashed out at $1,000. I got approved for that, and my LLC was about 2 years old. But I know a lot of people tried to apply and they got denied because they weren't in systems. They didn't have the business trade lines and the business credit reporting. So I often recommend to just try not to take great shortcuts and do things the right way. And it's going to be a great investment, a great payoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you don't have, again, a business that's making, hundreds of thousands or millions, you can open an LLC based on, something very small, minor, just a very much a side gig. And you can get those LLC documents that will allow you to open up business cards. In some cases, you can open up a business card twice, once with an LLC and also then as a sole proprietor. So you're right. Having the LLC does open up more opportunities.
Right. And it was pretty easy to do it here in Pennsylvania. I used the website IncFile, INC, IncFile, and I just had to pay a state filing fee. It was maybe at the time like $90. I think it's gone up to maybe $125. But even when I signed up for that, they had a partnership with Bank of America. And that if you opened a business checking account with Bank of America, that they gave a bonus, which I believe was something like $200. So I'm already up $100 just on opening the business and the business checking account. So what a country. And I know you've done a lot of these bank account bonuses, both personal and business.
Right. Yeah, I have done some banking account bonuses. I haven't gone all in. I tend to do it slowly and methodically. Partly it's a time issue, partly an organization issue. In this hobby, you really do need to be organized. And if you don't keep track, right, of when you open accounts, either bank accounts or credit card accounts, and recognize what you need to do to meet the minimum spend or the minimum deposit, you're going to get, you're going to suffer pretty quickly. It's going to be pretty obvious, right, that you shouldn't be in this game. So with bank account bonuses, I've been a little bit more slow, but I'm often opening up a bank account if there's a good sign up bonus, and it doesn't require too much work on my part to meet the bonus requirements. And I also, of course, and Justin, you as well, always look closely, right, at the terms for bank account bonuses. Do you need to deposit $15,000 into account? Then ask yourself, do I have that amount? And what if I need some of that, right? That money, should it be, more liquid, right? Than needing to sit in an account for 3 months, just to get a sign-up bonus. So anyway, yeah, I have done some bank account bonuses, and it certainly is a good way to make a little extra on the side.
Yes, I'm in the Philadelphia area, and I've seen some local ones with credit unions and even bigger banks. And some of them are, just make a direct deposit or link your direct deposit and make 5 debit card transactions in the first 90 days. So it's very easy for me to move direct deposit around. And then to just use a debit card, I usually just go to self-checkout at a grocery store and buy a banana. And sometimes I'll use multiple cards to buy that banana, depending on the grocery store and how the payment terminals work. So very easy to do this. And it's like, maybe it took me like 10 minutes to fill out an application online. I get approved. I activate a card. I go out in the wild and use it. And maybe, to be conservative, I spent maybe 30 or 45 minutes of time. I'm already going to be at the grocery store anyway. Like, I just have some downtime during the day, and I made like $300 from that account. And maybe I'll use it for other transactions, or in the future, maybe I'll just close the account. Now, some of these have early termination fees or some other regulations where, we're going to charge you if you close the account early, or there's going to be a revoking of the bonus. So yeah, you do have to be on top of it. But I think this is super, super low hanging fruit, that so many options for people to really get some extra money.
Absolutely. Both credit cards and bank accounts do offer so many opportunities. At the same time, I recognize it's not a hobby for everyone. There are some people who I think they love, the idea of getting, these miles and points balances. They love the idea of traveling for free. They love the idea of, extra cash from bank account bonuses. But they just are, they just don't have the motivation, I guess, to pursue it. And that's okay. It's not for everybody. But Justin is right. It doesn't take a lot of work. And so if you recognize that and you're willing to invest just a little bit of time, it is an amazing hobby, and it's allowed our family to do amazing things.
Yeah, I get that objection. People, it sounds like a lot of work. And my idea personally is usually that work sounds like a lot of work, especially if people are working jobs making like $15 to $20 an hour. They don't like the job. The hours aren't so great. It's like, look, if I can find some of these other side hustles and it adds up and making some significant amount. I mean, I'm not taking a 15-minute detour to save 35 cents on frozen pizza by any means, right? Like, we're talking about some bigger numbers, some easier things here, and some good payoffs.
Right. You do need to pay attention to how much time you're spending on it, and you have to pay attention to what you're getting for that time, for sure. But Justin is right. I don't chase, a dollar, an extra dollar by running to a store, right, to get, to pay $1 less on milk or something. and in this industry, I wouldn't do that either, right? I'm not going to chase, I'm not going to spend a lot of time to get a dollar. But this hobby actually allows you to get hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, over the course of a number of years in travel, in cash back, with not a ton of work. And when I say hundreds of thousands, I'm not saying you're going to get that this year, right, or next year. This has been over the course of many years, but all told, right, with I would say limited effort, not no effort, but limited effort. I've been able to get these credit card bonuses and these bank account bonuses, and do great things with it.
Yeah, when I was tracking a few months ago, because I was wondering about like, okay, well, what's my return on this? Is this still making sense? As I've done some of the bigger offers at first, I was tracking and making about $4,000 a month just from the points. And I wasn't even including freebies into that. I wasn't including, say, okay, I got a hotel room upgrade. I got a seat upgrade. Like, oh, does that count as like $75 or what is that? So there are a lot of, I think, intangible benefits, and just the experience is much better. There's also been a lot of fun in this and trying to solve the puzzle and trying to figure out these deals. I've met people like you, many listeners of the show. There's community. There are a lot of websites and in-person meetups. There's so much opportunity. And I found a big overlap with gambling, something that I do anyway. And the reselling I'm doing on eBay, there's a big overlap with that as well. So I think many can find a way to have parallels with things they're already doing.
Right. I find it fun too, I'll admit, right? I think it's just fun to kind of find a great deal, to find a great sign-up bonus, to get approved, right, for a card. And as Justin says, there's also these kind of small little perks on the side that are kind of fun. Like, I have an Amex Gold card that gives me $10 spend on Uber Eats every month and $10 on Grubhub. And it's fun. I wait for a code to come for, maybe, 50% back on Uber Eats, and I get, my $20 worth of food. I always do pick up, right? Don't want the delivery costs. So I go and pick up at a local restaurant, $20 of food for free because I have the Uber Eats code, and I get the $10 back from my Amex Gold card. And I don't have to make dinner that night. And so it can be kind of fun to use some of these extra side perks. And I don't know how much value you would put on them, right? I guess it depends on whether or not you'd, spend $10, right, for this Uber Eats money. But certainly for me, it's I do put some value on it just because it's been helpful in making my life a little bit easier. And yes, I find it fun too.
Yeah, and depending on listeners' grocery stores and loyalty programs that they have in their area, because a lot of this is regional or local, there are a lot of ways to save extreme amounts of money on groceries and gas. Like, I'm reselling products and buying from Best Buy, and there's a chain near me where I can go. And I was just talking about this with you today, that every $500 Best Buy gift card you buy, you get 10 reward points, which is worth about $15. And then I can use a credit card like the Amex Gold card that's giving me 4 times points. So if we're valuing those points at about 2 cents per point, we're talking about, okay, that's 8%, and then we're getting another 3%. So it's like an 11% bonus on buying something that you would buy anyway. And that's just making a significant difference. As I'm hearing people talk about, oh, look, the price of groceries and gas is going up. It's like, oh, well, I've been paying $0 for that for the past 2 years. It's like, what a savings. Like, if I could just have one thing is like, okay, Justin, you can only do these 5 things and your time is limited to others. It's like, wow, if I can do the groceries and gas deal, it's just really, really amazing.
Right. Getting a card that gives a good return on groceries has been wonderful for me as well. Not only organic grocery spend, but as Justin said, in the gift card reselling business, you can buy those gift cards at the grocery store. And if you pay attention to when they have deals on gift cards, gift card sales, then you can reap an enormous number of grocery points. And so, yeah, I'm not quite eating and driving for free like Justin, but I certainly am getting some groceries for free, and I'm certainly paying less for gas because of the rewards rewards programs of some of the local grocers around me. Some of it you have to kind of sample yourself, figure it out yourself, go to those stores and find out what they've got. And in some cases, you can go online and you can get tips from other people about what stores are offering, what kinds of benefits and bonuses, and when sales are happening. You're right, Justin. The extra money towards groceries and gas has been one of the most fun parts of this hobby.
Yeah, it's like we went into a grocery store. It's like, wow, I have all these rewards at the end of the year. They're going to expire. So it's like, oh, wow, I could just go in there and buy everything. That's pretty cool. You had an experience like that last December. You brought some family members. Like, oh, where are we going to go today? Oh, yeah, we're going to the grocery store. Like, no.
And I'll give Justin the credit in this case. He actually had all these points expiring, and he texted me and he said, I have points expiring. I don't know what to do with them at the grocery store. Why don't you go and use my account? And one of my kids was down in the dumps that day, and I said, we're going to go to the grocery store tonight. And so we went as a family, and I let them pick out what they wanted, and they were thrilled beyond belief, right? They could buy whatever ice cream they wanted. They got some hair products that they were hoping for. We got to buy seafood that we normally wouldn't buy, thanks to Justin. And it was kind of this, moment of freedom, right? I can get all these things. And, thanks to Justin, we had one of our most fun travel outings all year.
Oh, yeah, no problem. It was a really wild November, December last year, and hopefully we're going to see some of those deals come back again. So we proved Dave Ramsey wrong. It's like, well, you're not going to make much from credit cards. Oh, it's not going to be worth the effort here. Like, well, yeah, okay, well, we might not be a billionaire, but we can certainly save a lot of money. And the way I look at it, saving money is like made money, where it's like, well, I was going to spend this money anyway on gas and groceries and my auto insurance and all these other things. And I have so many ways to reduce these costs down to nothing or next to nothing. And it just makes a big difference.
So Justin has brought up Ramsey, and I think it's worth remarking, right, that he is wrong, right? He's not wrong for everybody, but he's wrong for many of us who are careful with our money. We pay off our balances. We never pay interest on our credit cards, and we never pay fees because we're organized, and so we always make sure we avoid late charges. And if you're the kind of person who can do that, and many of us can, then getting a credit card or 2 or 10 or 20 actually can make sense and can be enormously rewarding.
Yeah, I see people using cash and debit cards at registers. It's like, oh no, they're missing out. But yeah, not all people have that financial discipline. I hope that people can become disciplined and just not go crazy just because you have a line of credit and, oh, let's buy that plasma TV or Gucci bag or whatever, and I'll pay for it later. And then, the $10,000 racks up and then you're paying like 20% interest. So I think that financial responsibility is really important.
Absolutely. And having emergency savings is important as well in this business because, you might, if you're, say, reselling gift cards or reselling products, you might find that you have to wait a few weeks until you get, the return. And if something comes up, you have to, an emergency, you have to be able to pay for it. So yeah, you need to have all those, cautionary measures in place. But if they are in place, then there's no reason not to sign up for credit cards and meet minimum spend in interesting ways like, prepaying your utility bills. I've done that to the tune of $1,000 or more. Prepaying your cable bill. Prepaying insurance, so you meet minimum spend, or in the reselling business, right? You can go ahead and buy these products, take your time selling them, knowing that you have, just in case, you have emergency savings, you have enough to pay off the balances if they come due before you get the return on your products or the return on your investment. And if you're one of those people who can do that, and I think many people can, they just don't realize they can, then this is a great hobby to have.
Yeah, there can be a lot of creative ways to hit those minimum spend thresholds without just blowing money, right? We were talking one day about Plastic, Plastiq. Can you talk about that a little bit? You've used that service before.
Sure. It's a service that allows you to pay them by credit card, and then they send out a check to whoever you owe money to. So, for example, if you are paying utilities and your utility company doesn't take credit cards, many don't, then you can pay Plastic, and they will in turn send a check to your utility company for a fee. And so you have to pay attention to that fee and decide whether it's worth it. Now, plastic has referral dollars you can get. So if you get a referral from somebody, they'll get some fee-free dollars through plastic, and so will you. So maybe your first $500 or $1,000 that you pay to plastic will be free. And then beyond that, there is a charge. It comes in, I think, just under 3% typically, which is something you have to think about, right? Is it worth paying 3%? In some cases, the answer might be yes. If your sign-up bonus is pretty significant, and it's maybe the sign up, the minimum spend requirement is $5,000, and you can organically spend, let's say, $4,000, then spending $1,000 by prepaying utilities through plastic.
Or just taxes in general that could have some applications. So it pays to experiment. And we both have the point debit card, which is a more recent thing. That also runs as 1% on plastic, but the point debit card is also giving 1% back in rewards. So for those occasions where you don't want to send a paper check in the mail, or you don't have paper checks, you could just go ahead and do that. And the point debit card, of course, has had some bonuses.
And not just bonuses, but they occasionally will run streak rewards, for example, where if you use your card 5 days in a row, total over $200, you get a certain amount in a certain bonus, right? Usually about $30. So cards have, sign-up bonuses, but they also have sometimes ongoing promotions or ongoing bonuses that you can pay attention to and use to your advantage.
Yeah, and I think the credit cards also give an easier way of life, whereas people who are primarily using debit cards, for instance, risk overdrafting. Oh, how much is in my account? I don't know how much is in there. And I've seen some cases where people's information was compromised on debit cards, and then they're having to wait for weeks for the bank to resolve the issue. The money's out of their account. They're risking overdrafts. It's not a comfortable thing. So I think credit is making life easier in many ways.
I agree with Justin. Just so long as you're not the kind of person who has a credit card and thinks, ooh, I have a credit card. I can spend, whatever I want. I can buy this thing I wasn't going to buy because I happen to have a credit card. So just make sure you're not spending more simply because you have a credit card, or buying things you wouldn't otherwise buy, right? Just because you have the credit card. And so if you're the type of person that does that, you might want to rethink this idea. But if you're like Justin, myself, and many other Americans, right, who know how to spend responsibly with credit cards, then it's absolutely something worth looking into.
Yeah, I think it's important to live an intentional type of life and really question a lot of societal assumptions, whereas some people think, oh, well, if I spend more money, life is going to be better. Well, not necessarily. Like maybe that $80 bottle of alcohol, isn't all that's cracked up to be. And you could just, have that ice water when you go out to eat, and maybe take some flavor enhancer from your bag and put it inside that you got with grocery rewards sometimes. So you could really question. And I think living the frugal life gives me a lot more headspace, and I don't have to worry about, oh, how am I going to have the money to pay that bill next week? Like this business of living paycheck to paycheck, I think is very avoidable in many cases. If people are to look at their spending and, okay, well, did I really need this thing? Oh, well, maybe instead of using the food delivery app and paying the full amount, I could have just fired up the rice cooker at home and, saved that $15. I think that's a very good space to be, and just not being reckless with the spending and just trying to live for today, that we can be future oriented and just be more careful about how we're spending and living our lives.
Yeah, you could not be more right? You need to think hard about why you're spending, why you're spending the way you are, right? If it's just to keep up with the Joneses, then that's not the kind of spending that's going to make you happy, obviously, but it's also the kind of spending that'll get you into trouble very quickly financially. So this is not a hobby that's meant to mean you can buy the latest and the greatest. I suppose it allows you to buy some more than you maybe could before. But I think it's better to look at this as a hobby that allows you to do some things and experience things, and maybe even give to charity at higher levels than you could before. So this is not a philosophy to replace, right? A much better philosophy about living frugally and thoughtfully and living environmentally friendly, right, lives. It's a way to find more opportunities that you might not have before.
Yeah, that philosophy, of course, is my other podcast, the Stoic Solutions podcast, applying Stoicism to everyday life. Yeah, so we can have that kind of link and maintaining that responsibility while using credit, not losing our minds, and then being able to profit. Because I think, unfortunately, a large reason of why this exists is because people are in debt because they're spending irresponsibly. The banks will put out these great offers to try to tempt people to spend more. But it's a slight percentage of us who can really gain quite a good deal from all of these offers. But I don't think it's an impossible effort. I think that many average people can really do this. And if it's not at a huge level, that's okay. You can do what you can do and experience some wins rather than just sitting on the sidelines and seeing your dollar deteriorate and inflation go up over time.
So, Justin, you have any upcoming travel you want to tell me about?
Oh, yes. I'm going to be going to Las Vegas tomorrow. We're recording here on October 24th. So I have 4 free nights at Link in Las Vegas, Caesars property, and then 3 free nights at Wynn. Thanks to the credit card game and some gambling that I do, I was able to get Caesars Diamond status, matching from Wyndham Diamond status that long ago I matched from Hilton Gold or Hilton Diamond status. So I've been going on the Casino World Tour in the last few years when one casino offers a tier match or a status match program. Even though I didn't play all these table games and slots, whatever, I still have the high status and I can get the benefits. So with Wynn, I got 3 free nights and $200 slot play. So I was very happy to take them on that offer. And I also got a $150 birthday dinner that I used in the month of September.
I don't know how you do it, Justin. Status matching still eludes me.
Yeah. The glory days, though, are over. I remember in Atlantic City, one of my favorite deals, you used to be able to buy a $500 gift card at Borgata using a credit card and then transfer that to free play at the Players Club. So I would play video poker where the house has only about a 0.5% house edge, but I was getting the spend on my credit card, the rewards, and it was a great opportunity. Unfortunately, they only limited it to $500 a day, but I was able to do a lot with that. So we mourn for dead deals, that's for sure. But new
yes,
deals,
we do.
new deals come about. So that was one of the more creative ways that I would hit sign-up bonuses, and none of the banks complained. And I think it's a thing of just treating this as a gradual thing. Like, don't just hammer out and, I got a new credit card, so let's, spend $10,000 at the local grocery store in the first month. Like, I think it's important to de-risk in many ways. I think some people have the mistaken idea that if you try to do anything that might violate terms or be in kind of a gray area, that you're going to get shut down and everything's terrible. But if you could just do it in a more measured way and treat this as a marathon instead of a race, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my hats off to you, Justin, for all the ways you've found benefits and bonuses and status matches through the casinos.
Yeah, thanks. And you found many ways of your own, as I think that's a big benefit of this hobby, is that there's a really good community, because one person isn't going to find everything. But we'll find things on our own, and we can collaborate and share information to work together. And I think that's rare in general. Like, a lot of people will just really hide information or not be out there, or communities can be really toxic. But I've had a relatively good experience, a very good experience so far in the credit card space.
Yeah, as have I. And so I'm not going to be going to Vegas anytime soon. That's not the direction I head, but I'm hoping to be going to visit friends in Puerto Rico after the Christmas break, before things pick up at work again. It'll be a short trip because I live on the East Coast. I can get there relatively quickly, spend a few days, hopefully getting away from the doom and gloom right of the East Coast in the winter, and heading off to San Juan. And then hopefully the kids, while I'm at an overseas work trip in May, I will be able to go with my husband to visit friends and to tour London. So that's on our itinerary coming up. We'll see if there's anything in between that time. I do have one of my kids will be studying abroad. So one of the great benefits of this hobby is that I can get her there to her study abroad location with points, with miles in this case, and reduce the costs of studying abroad for her. And who knows, maybe I'll get to use miles to go visit her at some point in the spring.
Oh, great. And how do you go about funding these things? So you have this Puerto Rico trip. What's the process that you take for using these points, miles, and benefits in order to take the travel?
Right. So that does take time, but it's something I enjoy. So I don't mind spending the time. I actually start with Google Flights, quite simply. And I look at, what days have the cheapest flights from which airports. And I have several airports that I live, close enough to that I don't mind traveling there and flying out of. And they're rather big airports. So that does reduce the cost. But then I look at the cash costs, and then I go to various airline sites, and then I start looking at the points or the miles requirements for those trips, and so then I can sort of match them up against the cash price, and then if I do decide that the cash price is a better deal than using miles, then I'll oftentimes have to make a decision about which credit card to use, because if you use certain credit cards, it comes with insurance, and then you don't have to worry if your trip is delayed or if it's canceled, right? You have insurance to cover that. Most of these insurances, by the way, I should say now, thanks to COVID, don't cover COVID emergencies, right? So if you are, overseas and you test positive before coming back, most of these insurance cards will not cover your 2 weeks of quarantine. That's not, that's considered beyond what these insurances will pay back. But here's an example of something that did pay back. I had a trip planned with my daughters to Spain and Portugal, and there was a tremendous winter storm in our area and couldn't make it to the airport. And Chase Sapphire Reserve Insurance actually paid the cost of the points that I had put into the trip. And so that was amazing. But to go back to your question, Justin, so, once I have the cash price and the various mileage costs for the airlines in which I have miles accrued, if I decide to go the cash route, I might go with a credit card that provides good insurance, but I also might go with, a credit card where you get some, maybe you can pay with points rather than miles. So I have an Amex Platinum, the Business Platinum, and if I use that card and if I use the points on that card to buy tickets in whatever airline I've set up as my sort of primary airline, it will give me about a third of those points back, which is an amazing return. So in essence, you're paying really 2/3 of the cost of the cash price of the trip by using points. And so there's lots of different ways to fund travel, and you kind of have to look at all your options. And then, of course, once you have the tickets purchased, you have to think about rental car if that's something you need. I do try to avoid rental cars if I can. Local transportation is so much more convenient, but sometimes you need the rental car. So you can look at the various options through your various portals from, say, Chase or Amex, but oftentimes I'll go to rental cars and I'll just pay the cash price for that, and then I'll just figure I'll pay myself back somehow, right, for the rental car. A hotel is the most fun to me. I love looking at my hotel options. You can look at your various rewards programs. Do you have Hilton points? If you do stay at Hilton, what are the best options? Hilton gives you, if you book 4 nights, the 5th night free. So there's just so many variations, right, within these rewards programs to pay attention to. But it's fun, and you can find out which ones have free breakfast and which ones have lounge space you might be able to access. So for me, the travel planning is just great fun. But yeah, it does take time and effort, but for me, it's completely worth it.
Yeah, very good. And sometimes these breakfasts can be quite hilarious if they're buffet style, or like at the Hyatt Regency Albuquerque, they gave me an $80 breakfast daily. Wow. So that was really generous of them. Yeah. So
now we've had a breakfast that we would we would never be able to afford, right? Just because we were staying and had some status, right, at various Hiltons. My kids' eyes getting wide as they see these huge Japanese breakfasts, right, being put in front of them. Their eyes were getting wide for 2 reasons. One, the amount of food, but also two, some of the fish that they were bringing out for breakfast was quite the. It made them it made them a little nervous, but they ended up loving it. So.
All right, very good. Anything else to add as we're at the hour mark here?
No, it's been great to talk to you, Justin, and share some of my experience with points and miles and travel and credit cards. And it's been great learning from you, right, about how much can be done and what kinds of opportunities are out there. So if you're at all inclined, Justin has been a very helpful resource, and his podcast here is worth paying attention to. There's others as well out there. So read widely, ask questions, and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, especially the two sites that I really recommend, doctorofcredit.com and the esteemed Stephen Pepper at gcgalore.com. And Stephen was a previous podcast guest. So if you're interested more in the gift card game, gift card reselling, that's definitely one person you want to follow. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and I'll see you at Staples in the future.
Thanks, Justin. Great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more content. Visit my website at hurdygurdytravel.com to contact me, find me on social media, read episode transcripts, schedule a free credit card consultation, and support my show through Patreon, Subscribestar, referral links, and buying from my eBay store. Watch the show on YouTube and listen on many podcast platforms. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Supporters of my Patreon and Subscribestar pages receive special perks, including a custom podcast episode, questions answered by upcoming guests, and monthly private one-on-one conversations. Schedule a free 15-minute consultation with Cakeology to formally establish your business, build business credit, and get premium business credit cards. After the free consultation, I will receive credit for referring you when you select from various paid services. Listen to Cakeology on episode 12 of this show. Find an affiliate link on my website. Build and grow your business with the help of Burst Biz Services. Burst Biz helps you grow and start business, expand business credit, and increase your business visibility with online listings. Use my affiliate link at hurdygurdytravel.com for a free business evaluation. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.